let's talk about something a little bit divisive. In episode 2 of what I'm tentatively calling the hot plate, we're going to talk about MSG.
Hot plate on the pass!
So, MSG, or monosodium glutamate, is a flavor enhancer that is used in cooking and food preparation, but it's not a new thing. Mass production of MSG has been happening since the very, very early 1900s, but has recently found its way back into the modern culinary lexicon. And it owes so much of that to the massive amount of food content that we're seeing on social media. With chefs and personalities like Uncle Roger, Joshua Weissman, Guga Foods, and Sorted Foods, just to name a few, who are all talented and brilliant food educators in their own way. However, I do want to give an extra mention for Sorted Food because I know so many young chefs that have found a passion from food from watching them for the last 13 to 14 years. But I digress. What these channels are allowing people to do is to get a look behind the curtain into professional restaurants and kitchens, where there is proper use of ingredients like MSG. However, all of that being said, MSG is still a very divisive ingredient. And with a name that is straight off the periodic table, I do get that there is a hesitation to use an ingredient like this. However, the concerns that are out there about MSG are rooted in evidence and stats that are shaky at best and downright disproven at worst. There is some anecdotal evidence that MSG has caused headaches and nausea. However, no definitive link has been found between the two. Now, I invariably end up having this discussion or debate more often than not across the table from somebody who has a pint in one hand and a cigarette in the other hand, and they're telling me that they're not going to put that poison in their body, bypassing the irony completely, proclaiming loudly that MSG is a poison, that it's linked to cancer, that it's linked to elevated heart rates. Once again, this simply is not the case. So, I would like to give a very quick rundown on what MSG is and how it's made. So, I said at the start that MSG is a flavor enhancer, but it is also a very natural thing found in a variety of different foods, ranging from tomatoes to fish, aged cheeses like Parmesan and blue cheese, and then in fermented sauces like soy sauce and fish sauce. But how do we go from a solid, tangible piece of produce to the crystalline powder that we're now very familiar with? Once again, we are left with a very natural concept: fermentation. So, it starts with something like corn, sugarcane, cassava. Then they add fermentative microbes. These would be similar to the ones that would be used in cheese production. From there, the microbes consume the natural sugars, and glutamic acid is then a byproduct of that process. Once this is all filtered out, they add sodium. This is all concentrated down, and in that process forms little crystals. These are the crystals we now use for seasoning. These are natural processes that are all managed and monitored on a micro scale. Now, what does MSG do? Well, MSG is a source of umami. Umami is one of the 5 basic tastes. The other 5 tastes being sweet, sour, salty, and bitter. Umami is utilized for its savory, sometimes meaty flavor profile, which makes it fantastic for broths and marinades, and even just straight up seasoning. You will have experienced this if you've ever had a spice bag, as the majority, not all, but the majority of spice bags will contain MSG. Now, I am not here to convince somebody who has their concerns with MSG to go off and start consuming a load of it. That is a choice that you have to make yourself, but I would rather that people make an educated choice. Chefs aren't here to hurt you, and the majority of us aren't here to cut corners at the expense of the diner or their experience. I believe it's quite the opposite. I myself have dedicated more than half my life to understanding the ingredients that I use on a daily basis, so I can pass all of that on through dishes to my loved ones and strangers alike, in a safe and healthy way. Anyway, let me know your opinion in the comment section, and make sure to like, share and follow for more content like this and more recipes.